Hi everyone, Professor Christine Henderson here, bringing you a video of a chapter summary and content overview for Introduction to Human Services, HMS 101. This video will cover Chapter 1 in HMS 101, What is Social Work? If we break down the word social work, it is a noun. It is the work that is carried out by trained personnel with the aim of alleviating the conditions of those in need of help or welfare. So oftentimes when we hear the word social work, we think of the occupation of a social worker. And this does describe very generally what a social worker as a professional would be driven by. However, there are many different occupations and job descriptions, if you will, that does social work. So for the purpose of this course, while we focus on social work, please know that there are many different professions and occupations that could fall under this type of work. Social work as a profession. The purpose of social work is to promote humanity and community well-being. And the things that drive this purpose is the person and environment framework, a global perspective, respect for human diversity, knowledge that's based on scientific inquiry, and the strengths perspective. We'll talk about each of these individually. One of the things that makes social work different and unique is the person and environment mandate. Many different helping professions will focus on the person, the individual, what is causing them distress, or the issues and challenges they are facing. And other professions may strictly look at the environment and the surrounding areas or the outside influences that are creating issues and challenges for an individual or community. Social work as a profession, social workers look at both the person and the environment. So this mandate that drives the purpose of social work is also a perspective, a practice guiding principle that highlights the importance of understanding an individual and an individual behavior in light of the environmental context in which the person lives and acts. This perspective is based on the notion that an individual and his or her behavior cannot be understood adequately without consideration of the various aspects of that individual's environment, things such as social factors, political factors, familial, temporal, spiritual, economic, and physical. A person in environment perspective is said to provide a more adequate framework for assessing an individual and his or her presenting problem and strengths than an approach that focuses solely on changing an individual's behavior or mindset, or one that focuses solely on environmental conditions. Social work can be broken down into micro practice and macro practice, and there's even a meso practice in between these two. Micro, meso, and macro social work all have similar missions. They all seek to identify and address mental, emotional, familial, social, financial problems that people face. The difference between these three practices lies in the methods that they use to address these problems, the scope of the impact of their work, and how close social workers in these fields interact with the populations that they wish to assist. Microsocial work affects change on an individual basis and involves working very closely with clients to support them through their challenges. Meso, which is the in-between one, seeks to improve small communities through initiatives like a school-based education program or a local health service. Mesosocial workers also tend to interact directly with the populations that they serve. Macro social work aims to understand how problems originate, develop, and persist in large systems, for example, like something at the state or the national level. Macro social workers may or may not interact with the populations that they seek to help, and instead they work to effect positive change through research of social issues and advocacy and the development of state and national programs. Who are social workers? There's a variety of degree programs that would fall under the umbrella term of human services. At SUNY Orange, we have an associate's degree, an associate of science in human services. An associate's is a pre-professional entry-level degree program that provides the foundation for the knowledge and skills that are necessary to work in the field, to do social work. This type of associate degree program can lead you to a bachelor's level degree program and then eventually a master's level as well. And if you're interested, even a doctoral program. Many people take different paths in the field of human services, and some may work toward a social work degree, a bachelorette of social work, and then eventually a master's of social work. You could always go on for your doctoral degree in social work as well. And some people will go the route of a psychology degree. There are many different options. If we're looking at social work, as you continue your education, you will learn the knowledge, the values, the ethics, and a variety of intervention techniques or skills to work with individuals, families, small groups, communities, and organizations in order to solve problems and create change. Social workers work in a variety of settings. Public and private mental health centers, community centers, courts, prisons, schools, public welfare offices, military, hospitals, nursing homes, businesses, child welfare offices, some, as I mentioned, with public and private mental health centers, that could be a private practice. It could be in a mental health um, group practice. There are so many opportunities, and they address anything and everything from drug and alcohol abuse, mental and physical health, poverty, violence, lack of community power, family conflicts, workplace tension, discrimination, oppression, and inadequate housing. Regardless of the occupation or population or setting that someone is doing social work in, the primary mission of social work, according to the National Association of Social Work, or the NASW, is to enhance human well-being and help meet the basic needs of all people, with particular attention to the needs and the empowerment of people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. A historic and defining feature of social work is the profession's focus on individual well-being in a social context and the well-being of society. That's that person and environment concept. Fundamental to social work is attention to the environmental forces that create, contribute to, and address problems in living. The primary mission discussed the empowerment of individuals, and this is where the strengths perspective comes into play. The strengths perspective is an approach that is used in social work that puts the strengths and the resources of people, communities, and their environments, rather than their problems and pathologies, at the center of the helping process. So, this concept of empowerment and really building on a client's strength to create positive change is at the forefront of everything that is done in social work practice. In addition, the diversity perspective or cultural competence is also at the forefront, driving the mission of social work. We'll discuss cultural competence in further detail later on, but The diversity perspective is not just about appreciating the diversity of the populations and the environments and the social problems that the individuals we serve face. It is also about understanding one's own biases, truly understanding who you are working with and the dynamics of oppression and discrimination, being sensitive to the differences between people and developing interventions that are appropriate for specific client groups. So you will read about the standards for cultural competence in social work practice, and these have been developed by the NASW, the National Association of Social Work. The standards and the indicators include following ethics and values that have been set forth by this national association: self-awareness, cross-cultural knowledge, cross-cultural skills, service delivery, empowerment and advocacy, diverse workforce, professional education, language diversity, and cross-cultural leadership. We will expand upon these concepts and these standards as we discuss more about cultural competence, but there is a wonderful resource, which is the NASW webpage, and I'm going to take you there right now. This webpage will show you more information or provide more information about the standards and the guidelines when doing social work. I know that there's a lot of information here, but a lot of these are hyperlinks. If you're looking for specific information or a specific population or setting that you're working in, it'll also provide more information about careers in this field, advocacy efforts. A lot of that macro practice falls under this category. And if you want to become a student member, there's student member types, so that you are, getting a head start on becoming having a professional membership with a national association. This is a wonderful resource for you to utilize. As I mentioned, there are so many different areas that fall under the human services umbrella, that you can pursue a career in, or a population, or a social problem, or a specific setting. Anything, this is just a few, but child welfare to gerontology, working with older individuals, working in the mental health field, healthcare, medical settings, schools, working with individuals struggling with substance abuse, violence victims, criminal justice, crisis, trauma and disasters, military, public welfare, community organization, policy practice, management, administration, more. The opportunities are endless. So as you are exploring what might be a good fit for you or what you might be interested in our textbook, there are some great ways for you to self-explore. Um, you can take a look at page 26 to 27 and 29 to 30, to, kind of self-explore those personal characteristics that are suited to social work practice, or choosing social work as a career. There's many other resources that I can provide you with as well. Feel free to reach out anytime if you want to discuss this further. Lastly, social workers are seen as change agents. One of my favorite quotes, Lee Iacocca: "The thing that lies at the foundation of positive change, the way I see it, is service to a fellow human being." So you all are change agents, whether you know it or not. And as you continue on that journey, whether it is professionally or personally, you are making a difference. So I can't wait to hear more of what you think about the topics in this chapter. It is an introduction just to the concept of social work. We will start to delve into the topics in more detail as we progress throughout this course.